If you have your Bibles, turn to Luke chapter 15. Luke chapter 15, verse 1. It's going to be on the screen behind me, but I'd love it if you followed along in your paper Bible or in your digital Bible. But this is what we're going to do, okay? We're going to look and see what Jesus did. And Jesus did some pretty amazing things. He loved people one at a time. Luke chapter 15, verses 1 and 2 says this. Now the tax collectors and the sinners were all, say the next two words. They were all... That wasn't very good. Let's try this. We're going to really get excited about God's word, okay? Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around. They were all excited to be around Jesus. They were excited to be around Jesus. Why? I'm going to tell you in just a little bit. Then there was another group of people that were not excited to be around Jesus. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law. What's the next word? The Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered. I hate people who mutter. I can't stand it. You know what muttering is? It's offering criticism without a solution. Do you know what I think about people who offer criticism without a solution? I don't appreciate them. They were criticizing Jesus, but offering no solution. So let's look at the two groups. Tax collectors were people who were Jewish of descent. Rome was in charge. They occupied the territory. They would get their own Jewish people to extort their own people, their own countrymen, for money. It was like the modern day version of the mafia. It was like a treason, and you were extorting for money. It was a bad deal. Sinners were these were professional sinners. Sinners would have been a prostitute. Sinners would have been a thief, a known thief. Sinners would have been, drunks, whatever. They were the professional sinners, and they all wanted to be around Jesus. They gathered around him. And then you had the professional religious people. Who was more welcoming, the religious people or Jesus? It's a simple answer. Jesus. You ever been around people who welcome others well? Rochelle and I are newly empty nesters. It's really kind of great and really kind of unique. We miss our kids a little bit, right? My oldest son and his beautiful wife, our daughter-in-law, they live in Indianapolis. When they come home, do I welcome them with a hearty handshake and a good job, it's good to see you? How do you think I welcome them? Hug. Too long of a hug, I think. I just grab a hold, and I'm like, I'm not letting go. It's so good to see you. My youngest son just moved to Daytona Beach, Florida. He's working at a church there, his first ministry. When he comes home, do I give him a slap on the head and a nice job, whatever? Welcome him with a hug. Probably too long. I think Jesus welcomed these tax collectors with a hug. Probably too long. Because he just loved them. When he saw these people, he saw someone's son or daughter, someone's mom or dad, someone's nephew or niece, someone's grandfather or grandmother or aunt or uncle. He knew their name. He knew that guy that was the tax collector just needed a little bit of money to start out, and then he got sucked into this lifestyle, and he just couldn't get out. He knew that this young lady was someone's daughter, and she got stuck in a life of prostitution, and she'd been objectified and abused. But he saw her as a daughter, and he loved her, and he welcomed her. That's why they wanted to gather around Jesus, because he welcomed them. He loved them. They knew that they were safe with him. But you still had the religious leaders who were not all that happy about it, and they needed to have their hearts softened. So he thought, well, how do I tell them to soften their hearts, or do I tell them a story, a parable that maybe will teach a truth and that'll help them? So he went with the story, verse 3. Jesus told him a parable. A parable is a short story designed to teach a truth. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? Raise your hand if you ever heard the story before. You kind of know where I'm going? Okay. Who's he talking to? Is he talking to the professional sinners or the professional religious people? No one's real sure. He's talking to the religious people. But he's also talking to the professional sinners. He's talking to both. Because he wants the professional sinners to hear his heart. Now, here's what's interesting. In those days, we've all heard this, maybe heard the story, 100 sheep, 99, go to get the one. How many sheep did most shepherds have? Does anybody know? Did they all have 100? No. Less or more? Way less. How many? Take a guess. 20 to 25. Did they have IRAs back then? Social Security? Nest eggs? That was your income, that was your livelihood, that's all you had. So if you lost one and you've only got 20 or 25, that's a big deal. Jesus upped the ante and he said, what if you had 4 times that? What if you had 5 times that? 5 times 25, 4 times 25. Well, if you had that many sheep, one probably would still be important, but maybe not as important. And Jesus was teaching, everyone's important. Even when you have 4 times what you need, every single person matters. So he goes after the one. Verse 5. When he finds it, let me double check and make sure. Do you see the things that are underlined? You're going to say the ones that are underlined. We're going to say them together, okay? And when he finds it, he puts it on his shoulders and goes home. And then he calls his friends together and says, I found my lost sheep. See those action verbs there? Action, action, action. You notice it's a community thing? It's not just one person gets found and like let's just keep that together. It's, let's call people. We should celebrate this. We should have a party. This should be a reunion. This is fun. Verse 7, I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over, say with me, over one sinner, right, who repents, and over the 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. So he's saying to the religious leaders, you guys have got it all wrong. It's these people that I'm sitting with right here that you're muttering against. These are the ones that we need to reach out to. These are the ones that are valuable. These are the ones that we should pursue. These are the ones you're not pursuing. And you need to have your heart broken by God so that you will pursue them. For a long time, I've taught this as us needing to go after the lost people in our lives, those who do not yet know the Lord. And that's very true. That's a simple, easy, clear, straight line in the verse, right? Those who are far from God. And by the way, as a church, we will do anything short of, breaking the law, right? To reach people who are far from God. But it's also those, and I just thought about this week and through another pastor and his teaching, it's those who are a part of his flock who have wandered off. Look to your left. Do you see any empty chairs? Look to your right. You see any empty chairs? There's empty chairs in here. Remember who used to sit there? They used to be a part of this church, and they're not anymore. They're not a part of any church. They're not a part of any relationship with God. They've wandered. Years ago in our neighborhood, we used to live on Hemlock Drive here in Shanahan, and our in-laws would come and they would visit us, and they would say that the bus, whenever the bus would come, it looked like a clown car, because every single person on the street had at least 2 or 3 kids. It's like the door would open and like 500 kids would get out of the bus. I mean, it was just this incredible thing. And one day we were at the bus stop, and we just had one stop, and it was just all the kids got out, and all the kids came through, and my kids and 2 doors down, Amy Pelkey, who's our children's director. By the way, hug her today. Thank her. It's Fall Festival. Massive, outreach thing. A lot of effort's been going into that. So just thank her today. It's a big day for her. But her oldest son, Bryce, and our kids, the boys, were all down in the neighbor's house. They were playing video games right after the bus. They had said that's what they're going to do, no problem. And her little girl, Caitlin, who was in kindergarten, blonde-haired, pigtails, cutest little thing in the world. She was hanging around with us and some of the friends, and we were out in the driveways, and we were talking, and we were hanging out, and Amy said to Caitlin, her little daughter, kindergarten girl, hey, run down to the neighbors, tell Bryce and the boys that they need to come home. We got to get to where we got to go to the next place. So we're just sitting out there talking, Rochelle and I and Amy and a couple other friends. And it should have taken Caitlin about 30 seconds to get down to the other house, and it should have taken the boys about 30 seconds to come back. But they're boys, and they don't always listen very good. And it took a little while. We didn't see him. And then we thought, these dumb boys, we got to go. So we walked down, and as we were walking down, we realized, Caitlin didn't come back. So I thought, well, she must have gone in and was talking to the boys. So we went inside. The neighbors, oh, yeah, that's fine. The boys can go. They released the boys, and then I said, well, did you see Caitlin? No, we don't know where Caitlin's at. We started to panic. This cute little kindergarten, pigtailed, we didn't know where she was. We walked outside. We looked up and down the street. Where's Caitlin? We don't know where Caitlin is. I remember Rochelle grabbed Amy and said, we're going to pray. We're going to make sure God has got her. She's safe. We know it, but we got to find her. So we organized the neighbors, and we went literally door to door looking for Caitlin. Within 5 minutes, Rochelle had gone on the other side of the street and was like 6 doors down in the corner where there's a little curve, and she was jumping in the trampoline of a friend. Were you all nervous about it? Everybody's like really heavy. It's okay. She's fine. She's grown up. She's great. But in that moment, like, we were upset. What had happened was, on the way down to tell the boys what to do, a friend across the street said, hey, we're going to jump at my friend's house at the trampoline. Do you want to jump with us? And she was like, sure. Down she went. She was just down the road, safe and good. But in our hearts, she was lost. And we were scared. You know what? Where I live, I can walk 30 seconds in any direction and see people who used to be here, who used to have a growing relationship with Christ. And I now drive by them, and they're not here. And they need to be here. And you probably have people like that. They've just wandered. They've wandered off. And we got to see them, and we got to love them, and we've got to invite them back in. Your takeaways have been on the screen for a little while because they're so important. I hope you've just noticed and you're just thinking about that already, and that is, this week, it's just 2 takeaways. See one person who is far from God. Just zoom in on them. Just zoom in and love them. Just love them. You don't even have to invite them to church, although I think that's a good idea. But if they know that you love them, they'll start to ask. They'll start to ask. See one person who is far from God and be like Jesus and be the guy they want to gather around. Number 2, see one person who was a part of the flock and they've wandered, and invite them back. Invite them back. I know of one person who decided he was going to text his friends who hadn't been at church for a little while. And by the way, there's all the excuses, right? COVID, we got out of the habit. Youth sports, well, we had 12 weeks of youth football, youth soccer, youth whatever. Well, the weather's not good, so we didn't come. Or we had to go to the pumpkin farm. Or we had to do this. Or we had to do... There's all the excuses, right? That's okay. What if we just invited? What if we just said, gosh, we just miss you. We just miss seeing you. We'd love to have you come back. We'd love to have you come back. I know of a friend. He decided that he was going to text his friends every Saturday until they came back. He just kept texting, hey, we miss you. We love you. We'd love to have you. Can I see you tomorrow? I'm saving a seat for you. You can sit with me. And you know what? After 2 months, they came back. It was just a habit thing. It was just a heart thing. They'd just gotten out of the habit and the heart. And all of a sudden, oh my goodness, it's changed them. Let's just pray this prayer. Put this on the screen, please. Let's all pray this prayer this week. God, who do you want me to see that needs to be seen by you? Can we just say that? Let's just say that. I'm going to count to 3. We're going to say it together. Ready? This is our prayer. 1, 2, 3. God, who do you want me to see that needs to be seen by you? There's somebody in your life. There's somebody in your workplace. There's somebody in your neighborhood. There's somebody in the club that you're a part of. There's somebody in the organization that you lead that needs to be seen. And you're the person to do it. We're going to unleash the church. That's what we're going to do for the next 6 weeks. We're going to unleash the church. We're going to take thousands of people, and we're going to say, one at a time, we're going to love people the way Jesus taught us to love people. We're going to see them. And God, you're going to lead us who to see and how to love them. And when we do that, okay? When we do that, we're going to have a lot of fun. So like the next several weeks, it's all going to be fun. Next week, chili cook-off, right? If you make good chili, come make your chili, etc. If you don't, that's fine. We're going to buy chili. We're going to have extra chili. Everybody gets to have chili, okay? We're going to have lots of things that are going to happening in service, outside of service. It's going to be a celebration. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a reunion. It's everybody who used to be here and they're going to come back. And everybody who doesn't think they'd ever step into the walls of a church, they're going to come because you're going to invite them. And you're going to say, sit with me. And they're going to come along. You know what reunions are like? They're really special. Last week, I got to have a reunion. I got to go to my home church that I grew up in. From the age of 5 until the age of 20. My freshman year of Bible college, I was learning from Lynn, and he was doing all those great things. My sophomore year, they were in between youth ministers. They just needed somebody to kind of hold it down and give them a chance to kind of figure it out. And I got to be the youth minister, the interim youth minister at my home church, my sophomore year of college. And then I got into other church ministries, and as you might know, Sundays are kind of busy, and I hadn't been back for 30 years on a Sunday morning. My youngest son, his best friend, got married in West Central Illinois. We were 45 minutes from where that was going to be. I took the weekend off. We got to celebrate the marriage, and I got to drive down, and I walked in to my home church. And the gentleman who was the greeter, his parents were the greeter when I was a little kid, Julius and Janice, and every Sunday they would hug me. Greatest people in the world. Their son, who's 86, David, as I walked in, David said, well, Nathan, it's so good to see you. We haven't seen you in a little while. Yeah, David, 30 years. How's Rochelle? How's the kids? How's the village? We keep praying for you. We're hearing great things. Then he's like, hey, Barb Caparoon, Nathan's here. By the way, I was Nathan in my younger years, okay? I became Nate later on. And then it was just, we had a hard time getting into service because so many people who loved me well are still there and still making it. It was a reunion. We got into service, phenomenal. By the way, it's a town of about 50 people. On Sundays, they average about 200 for church. That's impact. People drive from 45 minutes away because of the love and the joy and the commitment to Scripture. Which, by the way, did you notice? Can you read the sign? Do you see what it says? Always be joyful. Never stop praying. That's who they are. That's what I grew up in. It was wonderful. Wonderful. We want to have a reunion. And it doesn't need to be 30 years, okay? It can be 6 days from now. There's people who haven't been here, they're coming back. There's people who are far from the Lord, they're coming back. And they're coming to know the Lord. Because you know what? People wonder. Did you know that sheep wonder? That's why the story is so true. Because sheep wonder. In fact, the technical term is they grazingly wander. They just eat, and they just keep their head down, and they just go to the next spot, the next spot, the next spot, the next spot, the next spot. And before you know it, they get themselves in danger. That's why you have to have a shepherd. Now, this is a unique story. Some of you are going to laugh. Some of you are going to cry. So I don't know how it's going to go. But just kind of be ready for it, and let's not judge the people who laugh, and let's not judge the people who cry, okay? True story. In 2025, that's in the future, that's wrong. In 2005, I apologize. In 2005, July, you can look it up, there was a group of sheep herders in the country of Turkey. They were in charge of the sheep, 1,500 sheep. They were eating breakfast and not paying attention. And one of the sheep and the other started to grazingly wander, and they grazingly wandered off a cliff. Don't judge. You might laugh, you might cry. It gets even crazier. The first 500 sheep died. They just went out of the cliff and died. The next 1,000 did not die because it was like a pillow effect. Whenever they landed, I know, it's weird. Do we laugh? Do we cry? I don't know. It's weird. I kind of think it's funny. Is that okay? Like, is it? I don't know. It's not funny. It's not funny when people grazingly wander into hell. It's not funny. But you know what is an opportunity? An opportunity is to be a shepherd, is to go after those who have grazingly wandered. Is to say, no, don't go there. Turn around. Come back to God. Come back into relationship with Him. We say these words, and we're going to put them on the screen. You are welcome here. We say that to everybody. You are welcome here. You are wanted here. And oh, by the way, we will, say the next 5 words, we will celebrate when you come home. It's going to be a reunion. It's going to be a reunion. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Check out this picture right here. Notice there's Jesus, and he got the one, but the other 99 are there, and they're celebrating as sheep celebrate. The best they can do, right? But they're together. They're hanging out. They're doing the thing. So I'm going to reiterate the action steps, and then we're going to pray. Here we go. Reiterate the action steps. Number 1, okay? Each one of us, what would it look like if thousands of people did this? If we unleashed the church, that you and I would see one person who is far from God, and we would just love them. We just unconditionally love them. And what would it look like if we would see, and there's probably already someone in your brain right now, who is a part of the flock, they were a part of the flock, but they've wandered, and we invite them back. And for the next 6 weeks, we celebrate.